Tonight's Campfire Conversation is titled Who Really Funds Wildlife Conservation? What happens if hunting and fishing disappear? And it starts with a simple question. Where does conservation money actually come from? Most people assume wildlife protection is funded primarily by general taxes or environmental nonprofits. But in many states, including places like Oregon, the largest funding source for wildlife management comes from hunting and fishing licenses. That means the people who harvest animals are often the same people funding habitat restoration, species research, and conservation enforcement. There's also something called the Pittman-Robertson Act, which places an excise tax on firearms and ammunition. That money goes directly into wildlife restoration programs across the country. Anglers contribute through similar mechanisms tied to fishing equipment. So here's the interesting part. If a state were to ban hunting and fishing entirely, what happens to that funding model? Would conservation be fully shifted to general taxpayers? Would new environmental taxes replace it? Would private donations cover the gap? Or would wildlife agencies be forced to shrink? This isn't about red or blue politics. It's about systems. For over a century, North America has operated under a unique wildlife management framework, where conservation is largely user-funded. It's sometimes called the North American model of wildlife conservation. The basic principle is that wildlife is a public resource, and those who use it help sustain it. Now imagine removing one of the primary funding pillars overnight. That would require a completely different conservation structure. Maybe that structure could exist. Maybe it couldn't. But it's worth asking how the math would work. Because whenever we change a system, even with good intentions, we have to account for the unintended consequences. And sometimes the quiet question isn't should this happen, but what would happen if it did? I'm curious what you think. Do most people even know how conservation is funded? And if the funding model changed, what would replace it? Drop your thoughts below. And if you have a topic you'd like to hear around the campfire, let me know. Your ideas genuinely help shape these conversations. Thanks for watching. I'm Christy, and I'll see you next time.